Stiver,
Here.
Gary Wallstrom,
Sorry. That's okay. There we go. We are live now. They heard you then? I didn't.
yes, they both answered.
Moving into committee business, athletic committee. Mr. Walton is not here. Pepper, do you mind reading it?
Athletic Committee, number 1, consideration to approve the athletic department resocialization of sports plan.
Questions? I just update everybody, what you have in your packet is a plan for the district of getting sports back in play. And this comes from guidance from PIAA and PDE and the local districts. And then with our sports programs, then we emailed out to individual coaches asking to update us exactly what, so I'm going to share with you so you have this. So as each program wants to begin, they're all different and they all need different things. So we just ask for specifics of what your operations would look like. So these are the plans that have been submitted for football, basketball, girls basketball to this point. And so they are based upon our plan that you're approving this evening, but they just get into the specifics of operation, exactly breaking down expectations, be here, time, expectations by the coaches, what they're going to do. So it's just every program as they're submitted, they're coming to Mr. Matchoff. Mr. Matchoff gives them the admin, we review them, and then we go from there, just to make sure everybody's following the guidelines that you are approving this evening.
If they go viral, like the students aren't drawing to school, you're still going to have the athletics? Are they going to be playing?
I wish I had that answer to you. As the phases change, there will be significant changes to
Right,
operations.
but I just wonder if the students aren't brought in, it's considering.
I wish I could give you a concrete answer, and I don't think anybody can. I think everybody's got a feeling of what will happen, but this is a fluid situation, and it'll change multiple times before we get to August 26th. That's the only thing I can assure you. So if approved tonight with the athletics, we're good to go with athletics as they get the plans to us, and the weight room will be open tomorrow and under modified schedule and limitations on who's in there, how many are in there, and okay. Any other questions on athletics? Before we read the personnel items ahead of the presentation. Yeah, the first item in personnel is going to be the reopening of the health and safety plan. And so we have, we're going to put the PowerPoint up there. The documents that you have in your packet are something that we have spent weeks and weeks on creating a plan to get back to school. Again, it's a fluid situation, but what we have for you, and it's on the PowerPoint and it's projected out there, is a plan for reopening school. None of us have any idea of what this is going to look like in a few weeks. So we have to be prepared for a number of different operations and changes to the plan. So the admin team has spent hours upon hours getting together, devising a plan that looks at 3 areas: the red, the green, and the yellow phases that are open here. So this is just a basic summary. So we'll go to the next slide here. What's our plan? It talks about how we're going to teach, how our students are going to learn, equity, our special education students, behavioral health, that's medical, nursing, social work services. How are we going to be flexible? You know, instructional flexibility, communicating with our parents, our stakeholders in our community, and how can we do this safely? So all those components went into our plan. Next one there. Okay, so all of us hope that on August 26th we open the doors and we can operate normally. normal operations with our students and our teachers, providing educational service in our buildings, in our classrooms. But the state has told us, be prepared, have a health and safety plan for operating the school, for athletics, and in that plan, include what you would do in each one of these phases as we change. Right now, we're green, and we're getting to go ahead to do a lot of things. But as cases would go up, we could move into yellow. We've got to be prepared. What are we going to do in the yellow phase? And then in the red phase, I think our decisions will be made for us in the state. So our plan encompasses 3 phases and what we think education will look like in those 3 phases, okay? Ultimately, we're all hoping that that's where we're gearing at now, with the phase inclusion, okay? Next one, please. You've all heard this 100 times, and you know, we've got the red, we've got the yellow, we're in green, so we are preparing as in green. We'll look at that, and we'll go on to these other phases as we go. Next slide here. So how do we make this decision? So we're making, we're going to assess the risk. What are we going to do? We're not doctors, but we've got to take the medical advice and the information from the state. If we have a confirmed case in our community or in our buildings, how are we going to handle it? So our plan includes, we're going to assess the risk. We could, if we have a case, shut down for a period of time to do deep cleaning of the property. We would take the guidance of the state, and we would be in communication with the board and making sure we would trace, like with our coaches' plans that you have tonight, we're asking coaches to keep track of every athlete that comes in on a daily basis, so that if a case would come up, we know which athletes were together. So if we're tracing, we know that someone gets sick on Tuesday, but Monday they were in practice. We know all the athletes that were together on Monday, so we can do the appropriate tracing. And the same thing through our plans with athletics we'll do in school. You know, we want to limit community spread. We want to limit the spread within our schools. And so we're taking all this into consideration as we're moving. Next slide, please. This is a team approach here. Next slide.
I'm just gonna stand over here and stay off camera. I'm not photogenic, but you can see everything in front of you. So right now we are green. So everything that we've talked about so far in our meetings, we're preparing to open up as normal, okay? Now, normal being said, we do have to make some adjustments to how we do things, okay, even in green phase. So under green phase, schools reopening, students and staff to return for a 5-day week. I'm sure many of you in the community have been stopped and asked, hey, I heard we're doing this, that, the other. We're opening green as of today. Now, again, that could change. But right now we're planning for 5-day week instruction. Okay, obviously we're going to be governed by PA Department of Health as well as Department of Ed. So we have to do what they recommend us to do, and we will accordingly. Okay, so travel restrictions, aggressive mitigation orders are lifted. Businesses follow CDC and PA Department of Health guidelines. Schools follow CDC and PA Department of Health guidelines. And one thing that you will see even under green phase, we're trying to limit our gatherings, our mass gatherings. Okay? If you go to the next slide. So the biggest thing is cleaning, sanitizing, disinfecting, and ventilation. So we've been working, and we say we, it's been all of the admin. Everyone here has been working hard on this. Our custodians are going to be pretty diligently cleaning and enhancing the cleaning cycles that they already do, to include high-frequency areas such as doorknobs, handrails, desks, restrooms, fountains, and et cetera. Okay? Disinfectant cleaner is going to be provided to each classroom to use as needed. So teachers, there's going to be an expectation that teachers practice some sanitation in the room in between classes and that type of thing. Frequently scheduled hand washing and use of hand sanitizer. One of the things that has been done A big hand sanitizer dispenser has been installed, or is currently being installed in the classrooms, available for all students. Those are also in the restrooms. I do know that, and Mrs. Batcher can obviously speak better to this than I can, but elementary scheduling times for students to wash their hands, and make, good hygiene part of the day. A scheduled fogging routine will be followed as needed. So, sure you've all seen the signs, this area was fogged on such and such a date. So that's going to be part of the cleaning cycle, where areas of the building get fogged. Signs will be posted throughout the facilities, just reminding students and visitors to use good hygiene, social distancing, to help prevent the spread of COVID. Again, hand sanitizers available when students enter the building, at every door, as well as on every bus and in every classroom. So we're going to make it as available as possible for people to use. Then the building automation and ventilation system complies with the federal ASHRAE cycle. I'm going to sound like I know what I'm talking about here, but that stands for the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, Air Conditioning Engineers. So, Charlie explained this to us in great detail at one of our meetings, but basically, it's a group that looks out for how a building ventilates, and that is one of the things that we see in the news about, proper ventilation of buildings, and all of our facilities are to that standard. So we're in compliance.
We were very lucky in 98, 99 renovations. They ventilated the heck out of both of these buildings, which is just what we need to be doing.
That's even a good thing, just mold
Absolutely.
stuff before this hit,
Charlie, would that include that lady, not the lady, where the wrestlers practice, in that room over there?
Yes, there's ventilation in there, yep, there is, yep.
Okay, next slide is social distancing and other safety protocols. So instructors, teachers are going to design learning spaces with respect to social distancing to the maximum extent possible. Okay, so we're going to ask teachers to use their classroom space to the best of their ability. Okay, to try and keep students separated as much as possible, to change how they seat students in their classroom. There's a lot of mixed grouping right now. We're going to be more oriented in rows, facing forward and such. Congregate settings, so assemblies. So we're going to try and limit the number of assemblies that we have in groups that are greater than 25. Okay, so we're going to restrict or limit outside people coming in to do presentations with our students, as well as gathering together as a whole, just here in the building. Okay? Hallways will utilize social distancing when possible. Yeah. That's going to go over real well in the high school. We'll do our best. That's all we can do. Restricting non-essential visitors, limiting volunteers, parents, presenters, and outside organizations. So basically, we want to try and keep the building as restricted to just the essential personnel in the building. Okay? Next slide, cafeteria and food serving areas. So this is one area where there is going to be some changes, even during green phase, to again help with the spread of germs and whatnot. So there's not going to be any type of buffet style breakfast or lunches, okay, where the students go through and get what they want and put it on their plate themselves. Okay? Markings are going to be used to indicate proper distancing and food service lines. So we're going to try to the maximum extent possible to keep students separated the best we can. Cafeteria surfaces will be disinfected between serving sessions. This is something that was done in the cafeterias with the tables and such in between, but they're going to wipe down common areas in the serving lines as well. I believe that was part of the protocol before all this happened anyway, but they're going to continue doing that. Students will spread out as much as possible and given alternative eating space when needed. It's gonna be more of a challenge here in the high school. Elementary, they have a little more flexibility to spread out, but, we're gonna do the best we can do, okay? Students won't be putting their, lunch pin in any longer. They're just gonna say it to the cafeteria worker. Cafeteria worker's gonna put it in. That way it will eliminate, a couple hundred students from touching the same keypad. Avoid sharing of food items and utensils. Individualized serving portions of condiments in small cups or packets. We're gonna serve only individual plated food items, okay? So again, just trying to restrict students continually grabbing for the same items, okay? Use of face mask and gloves by those serving food is required by the PA Department of Health. And then, to the maximum extent possible, serve prepackaged and individualized snacks during classroom, snack time, and celebration. Okay?
Can I interrupt a second? So not that I'm like totally for this, but I've heard some other districts are actually gonna deliver the meals to elementary classrooms. Has that been discussed at all, like to limit the cohort crossing?
We have discussed that. I think it's more of a logistical thing at this point. Yeah.
One of the things we did is in the grant, we're gonna purchase more cafeteria tables through this grant funding, which will spread them out in the whole elementary cafeteria, which will give us a little bit more spacing.
I'm just thinking like walking the halls, like if you can limit some kind of movement, you're basically exposing them, you know what I mean?
We did have those conversations, and nutrition and guidance didn't hear, or our staff for the cafeteria as part of those discussions, so, we'll continue to have them, yeah. Again, this document and this plan will evolve, and will continue to evolve over the next few months.
The last thing, that I'm gonna talk about is hygiene education. So again, we kind of touched on this already, having posters, displayed at various places throughout both buildings, and in common areas where visitors would be, just to remind people about, proper hygiene practices. Instruct students the first day about proper hygiene and reinforce it throughout the year. Washing your hands. Staff training on proper hygiene and cleaning procedures. That's something that's gonna take, our initial in-service days. All students will access hand sanitizers when entering district transportation and/or building. Students will either have their own materials, like computers, calculators, pencils, crayons, etc., or shared items are gonna have to be cleaned in between uses. So even in green phase, there's gonna be a lot more added to everyone's responsibility. Okay? Patrick.
So next we have sports activities, physical education classes at the high school. So the district will follow recommended protocols, recommendations of the PIAA, Department of Education, Department of Health, CDC. You have these packets tonight with the plans for the athletic teams, so it's really important that we follow those guidelines. Weather permitting, physical education classes will be conducted outside. Equipment will be cleaned before and after use, and then all activities will be designed and implemented to maintain social distancing guidelines. So the next slide is elementary. Really, the only difference between high school and elementary is we don't have to worry about PIAA sports. And then there is a portion in there where we are going to limit the playground to one grade level at a time. So we want to avoid mixing different grade levels. And then we'll clean the playground equipment on a regular basis. Next is transportation, which is a big challenge. So tomorrow we are releasing this version of this PowerPoint out to parents so they can see what our plan is, and then accompanying that will be a parent survey so they can tell us how they're thinking and feeling, get a chance to ask us any questions. One of the questions on that survey is if they would be willing to provide private transportation. I know at the elementary we probably have anywhere around 50-some parents who pick up their students on a regular basis. We are expecting that number to increase if not double. And so we will have, and I think I have another slide here explaining a whole different procedure for dismissal to avoid all those parents coming into the building, hanging out in the front lobby. And I think parents will actually appreciate it because it'll be easier for them, in addition to all the safety protocols that we'll be following. It is on this slide. So, so the student dismissal for the elementary is actually going to occur over at the high school, just to separate parent pickup from the bus area. So parents who are wanting to pick up their students on a regular basis will send in a note for the week or for the month, or if they're going to do it every day for the year, however often is convenient for them. And then we will bring those particular students over to the high school front lobby, and then parents will stay in their vehicle. They will park alongside the curb in front of the high school, 2 rows. A lot of other schools do it this way. They'll have a card with their student's name on it that they'll put on their windshield, and we will bring the students out to them. So parents won't even need to get out of their vehicles. We'll bring the students to them. Again, we'll separate the elementary traffic from, the elementary parent pickup traffic from the bus traffic, and I think that process will go a lot more smoothly, and I anticipate this will be something that we will just continue on year after year after this. This will take away from instructional time to be able to do that, to be able to get the kids over there and be able to allow parents to pick up a little bit earlier, since we're anticipating a lot more parents will want to do that. So we are going to begin that process around 3 o'clock, 3:05, instead of our normal 3:20. So we'll take away a little bit of time, but it's well worth it for the safety point of view. Okay, the next one is monitoring students and staff. We're going to encourage students and staff to stay home if they are sick. That's kind of a double-edged sword because, you know, we know how this goes, and we are hoping that parents will appreciate that and not take advantage of the situation. Because we are going to have situations where the student might be sick, or maybe someone in their home is sick. If either of those scenarios occurs, we still need them to stay home, because we don't want them coming into the building and possibly spreading that. So we're going to be very flexible with our attendance policies. Daily temperature checks are encouraged under green, so they're not required, but they're encouraged under green. Students or staff who present with a fever will be asked to return home for observation for 72 hours. They need to be fever-free 72 hours, minus the Motrin, because we don't want to hide the fact that they could be running a fever, or clearance from a medical provider. We will have a quarantine room, an isolation room within the health office to put students or staff who potentially are showing signs and symptoms, to keep them separated from other students who are not showing signs and symptoms, and then a 14-day stay-at-home order for any positive COVID test or medical clearance from a provider.
Who would be responsible for those temperature checks?
So we have a couple different plans in place. The nurse always is the ultimate say as far as temperature checks, but we don't want everyone having to run to the nurse's office anytime they want to check a temperature. So right now, we have already ordered and have actually already received quite a few forehead thermometers that will be placed strategically throughout both buildings. We also are looking at ones that almost look like a security camera that get mounted on the ceiling. They can do 15, 20 people at a time. So that's a great thing. And then we're looking at ones that mount to a wall. They look like almost like a mini iPad, mount to the wall, and students or staff can walk up to it, and that one's touchless, which is really nice. They would tell you right away if they're showing signs of a fever. So we're looking at all 3 of those options. So the next one just refers back to the attendance policies about being very flexible with our students. And the important part is that they're going to need to keep up with their work. So when we reviewed this with our staff yesterday, we are encouraging them to keep up the Google Classrooms that all of them had created while we're out, and make sure that if a student is out for any length of time, whether it's 2 days, 3 days, 2 weeks, that they still are able to keep up with that. Unless they are really just too sick to do so, then we'll make special accommodations for that. But the attendance is going to be a concern, and we'll closely monitor that, but we feel it's really important to be flexible because they need to be able to stay home in any of those kinds of situations. and the last part was, any, of our current attendance awards or incentives are done. Can't do it, so.
Next part, next slide, protecting students and staff at higher risk. Encourage masks or face shields for all students and staff while in the school building. Supply masks or face shields for students and staff who do not have one. Provide opportunity for full remote learning through the Viking Virtual Academy or Glendale Cyber. Unique safety protocols for students with complex needs or other vulnerable populations will be addressed on a case-by-case basis. Appropriate accommodations will be made to fully support their safety and learning. And again, that'll be constant communication between myself, administration, and parents. Most likely on a day-by-day basis, and after our survey goes out, constant communication, I'll reach out to parents on a case-by-case.
Even in the green phase, you're requiring mask?
It is encouraged, yes. And again, this is for the higher risk students, so it'll be communication with the parents of what they feel that's with that child.
So we're
Next
going
slide.
to offer virtual learning if the parent chooses.
We already have our Glendale Virtual Academy, and we pay for that through Ceola. So if you had a student who is high risk, who is compromised, that they can't be around, that's available to you. Much prefer that than going to other locations.
We have that for the elementary?
We do.
Okay.
Next slide, mask, face shields in course and band. While masks are not required in the green phase, only required in the yellow phase when social distancing is not possible, students in course and band in the elementary and the high school will be required to wear a mask or face shield when practicing or performing. This specialized setting is a situation with increased risk of spread of germs and virus particles. Mask and or face shields will be available for students who need one. Students or parents with questions or particular concerns about this should contact Mrs. Asher, Mr. Stacy, Mr. Pator, or Mr. Doval.
Mask or band?
For the most part, we want to spread that out.
Do you have any band or choir questions? What was your question?
I said, are they serious wearing masks for band practice?
They're gonna have to lower them. Here, we have, there are some studies out. So basically, they have studied the spray. And they're finding that choir is much more dangerous because it's coming straight from your mouth. So they felt that requiring masks for rehearsals and things like that in choir is gonna be important. In band, they're finding that spray is not as bad because it's going into the instrument. So when they're coming into the room, because the room is small for that large group, they're still going to wear their mask in the room. When they play, they'll have to lower it long enough to play. Face shields, we're talking about face shields for flute players because there is spray with flute players because they blow over the top of the instrument. So the face shields for them, but they obviously can't wear a mask while they're playing. So I actually was in contact with PMEA. They're keeping me updated on these research projects at Pennsylvania Music Educators Association. They're keeping me updated on these studies, any kind of things throughout the state that seem to be common for these types of rehearsals. For choir, the other thing that we're doing is we're eliminating risers. The kids will be spread out in the auditorium seats when they sing, so they're not going to be right on top of each other. We don't have that option in the band room. It's just too small. And moving them just means cleaning another space, you know, it's 6 to 1 happening. So that's where we're at.
This administrator learned a lot about the amount of spittle that is created in the band room when there's a band. I just want to
Percussion and non-windage when the student continue to wear one of them.
Continue to wear them. Mr. Sabineau has learned a lot about the fact that each instrument has has a water key that spit runs out of, and that you never eat off the bedroom floor.
That's your second rule.
Never will go in.
Next slide, yellow phase. If the county has transitioned to a yellow phase, a hybrid model of instruction will be utilized, such as a Group A students attending 2 days per week, say Monday and Tuesdays, and Group B students attending 2 days, Thursdays and Fridays, with Wednesdays and days not in school utilizing the remote learning. This is to allow for greater social distancing. This model will utilize portions of the green phase plans along with additional health and safety precautions. Siblings and members of the same household will be kept together when selecting the groups.
Again, this is what if. This isn't how we're starting, but we have to be prepared, and we will have this conversation. So we're mandated by the state to create these plans, send them in, get it approved, so we're prepared as we get to them. Again, it is a fluid, moving plan that will take place with this, okay?
And if this does go into effect, a classroom teacher then would have to prepare for those that are in class and those that are remotely learning? Like on an AB, she would have to prepare for, I don't understand how that
Yeah, we would have to work out details, but you would only have half your class for one day, virtual day, and then the other groups of students would be in, so it would be all the same content. You would be preparing.
They wouldn't have, okay, the ones that are home then wouldn't go online that day, like on a Monday, okay.
We would have to talk about
Boy, that's,
getting this plan worked out. We couldn't expect
that's
to
what,
do all these different things.
They're getting half the content.
We would have to talk, we would wanna make sure we get as much content, new content to our students as possibly can. So we realize that that's a problem, then we would have to discuss that. Again, we all realize that's an ideal situation. We really have to have deep conversations about how we're getting content to the students the best way possible.
and when, if they go to that AB plan, would they only be teaching the core subjects?
Again, I've heard conversations like that, we're not prepared to answer that right now. I mean, we've talked about it, we've heard about it, we're continuing to move forward with all content also.
Okay.
Next slide, blended learning model. Student groups A and B. Group A, students attend Monday and Tuesdays. Group B, students attend Tuesdays and Fridays. On Wednesdays would be cyber days for all students, along with other days not in school. Teachers will work from home on Wednesday to administer cyber or flipped classrooms. Maintenance would deep clean on Wednesdays, weekends, and evenings. Work assigned during remote learning should be independent work, as teachers will not be available to offer online support while teaching face-to-face. Teachers would be available on Wednesdays to support students with questions about remote learning.
I have one more question, because this may be really irritates me. Okay, if you have a child coming in Monday and Tuesday, and you don't see that group again until the next Monday and Tuesday, why wouldn't you do like a Monday for the one group and then bring the next group in on Tuesday, so you'd see them, closer together? I mean, you could say to, like in the elementary, do you remember? No, that was last Monday.
So
Is it because of the cleaning?
We floated this out, let me just clarify, we floated this out to our staff yesterday. And from that, we had a Zoom meeting, and it was optional, but we had a really high percentage of teachers and had great conversations with our teachers. And from that rollout yesterday, now we're branching out into department and grade level meetings, Zoom meetings, to have conversations exactly like you're talking about. Again, so that we're getting the feedback from the teachers and the department heads. We had one today, phys ed, and there's others scheduled. So again, all these conversations, we wanna take the input of our staff and work with them and make sure we're considering all these options. So again, we're continuing to move forward with this.
And cleaning would be the biggest issue, because if you did Monday one group, Tuesday another, if you're not cleaning in between, you're exposing both groups to a whole new group of exposure. You know what I'm saying? Where if you isolate just your one group Monday, Tuesday, educational wise, it's not as well, but only taking that section of the population of exposure, and you clean Wednesday, and you have a whole new section Thursday, Friday. I can understand that part of it.
Because we did this in kindergarten, And then they went to the everyday half a day, and that was much better than going to it just didn't work.
All these changes are based upon transporting and keeping small groups of kids together, and so there's probably some good ideas that we have to consider moving forward.
Next slide, the yellow phase changes. There'll be no assemblies, presenters, visitors, or outside organizations. Greater social distancing during the school day due to a smaller number of students being present on a given day. Daily temperature checks required for students and staff. Masks will be required for staff and students in the yellow phase if social distancing is not possible unless there is a documented medical condition preventing mask use. Protocols for students with exceptionalities will be addressed on a case-by-case basis, and appropriate accommodations will be made to fully support their safety and learning. Greater social distancing on bus due to a smaller number of students being present on any given day, and students highly encouraged to wear masks while on school transportation. Mr. Stacy Smith.
All right, so we're down to additional considerations. Students will wash hands, use sanitizers before and after specials. Obviously, they said they're going to schedule their hand washing in the elementary school. In the high school, it's a little harder to do that. We try to encourage them to stop up. And like we said, there's a hand sanitizer in every single classroom, so the kids will be encouraged to use that when they come in and leave the rooms. Students will wash hands and use hand sanitizer before they go out to recess. This applies to gym as well. Students will wash their hands and use hand sanitizer before going to the cafeteria and returning from the cafeteria. Students and staff will use social distancing to the best of their ability. Desks should be spread out as much as possible, and face the same direction if possible, and classrooms, using student tables will be provided clear partitions. Limit activities that combine class and grade levels. So we're going to do our best that we can. Unfortunately, it's not the most educationally sound thing. We spent all this time grouping kids and, turning and talking and collaborating, and now we're taking them all apart. And that's unfortunate, but unfortunately that's kind of where we're at this point. And hopefully we'll get to a point where we can start back into those things again eventually. Go ahead, next slide. We're going to limit the sharing of items, pencils, pens, scissors, calculators, any items that are shared will be wiped down. We're looking at the possibility that we're going to have a virtual open house this year and not an in-person open house. If you've ever been to the elementary school during open house, it's a madhouse at open house. So we're going to try something different there. There's a possibility of a virtual parent-teacher conference that we may have to schedule. We're looking at options for 7th grade orientation. All those things we're looking into that we might have to change. We're going to limit the outside organizations such as the Girl Scouts and the Good News Club. They use the elementary facilities, and that's not going to be possible at this time. Possibly limited elementary sports will use school facilities. Other large events, such as the Christmas concert, Christmas closet, school plays, will be evaluated and determined how we're going to do that in the future. At this point, who knows what Christmas is going to look like and what those times are going to look like. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that as we go. Lunch will still be in the cafeteria, but students will be spread out as much as possible. Students with special health concerns may have individual accommodations. Spacing indicators on the floor of the cafeteria, breakfast cart, and restrooms. So, for instance, like you see in the grocery stores, keeping the kids apart as they line up for things. Entire presentation, hand washing is a priority. We know that it's going to take extra time to do that, but we feel that for the health and safety of the students and staff, that's necessary for that time. Discourage handshaking, hugs, high fives, fist bumps, at least for now. instruction will be vastly different in light of the differentiation that will need to take place since the students will be at different readiness stages. So basically, we're gonna have to pre-assess and make sure that we know where all the kids are, because they didn't all get the same amount of information from March 13th on, depending on how much they were involved. We currently have purchased multiple forehead thermometers, but also are considering touchless ones for the walls. Patrick talked about that. One thing I want to add, she talked about the elementary dismissal procedures. You'll see in the handbook that's in our thing tonight, we're changing the high school entrance procedures. We're only going to use one door. Kids are going to come in as the buses come. They're not going to wait in the buses till 7:45. They're going to come in as they get here. They're going to go to two separate areas. Either they'll go to breakfast or they'll go to the gym, and we're going to take their temperature and do all that kind of stuff in that space. So there are some changes there. The nurse's office will be very strictly enforcement of criteria to send students, as she will be very busy. Communication will be essential. An isolation room will be prepared in case the students or staff are showing symptoms during the school day, and they will wait, that's where they'll wait for their transportation home. Again, you'll see in the handbooks, we put an addendum in there. It's our COVID addendum, and that addendum is to address nurse protocols and some attendance things and things like that are gonna, so the kids will know that stuff beforehand, not just coming in, and we'll address it at the beginning of the year. I can't take any credit for Go Brick to Click. That was all Mrs. Batcher. Even if we start the year in person, we need to be prepared to go cyber quickly, depending on the current situation. If we're using a blended model, some students may need packets. We need to be prepared to return to the classroom. And the district is purchasing additional Chromebooks and Chrome tablets to add to the laptops we have available for students that might need technology at home. We also have heard that Comcast is currently working on adding service in the Gulfport area, so we're hoping maybe we have some more connectivity with students in the area, because they'll have broadband options. Any questions? That was a lot.
Quick question on the transportation sanitizer. You know what you're using, liquid, spray, white? The only reason I'm bringing it up, food for thought for special needs students. If they have any tactile sensitivity issues, I know the spray took a while to get used to, and some kids may not like the liquid form. You may have to use a hand wipe, if they're getting on a van or something. I'd survey your parents to see if those kids have any sensitivity issues that they may need to use a certain type, or otherwise you may set them off for the day. You know what I'm saying? Right.
That's what we have now, Charlie, with a phone, right?
Yeah, that should be an issue, because I know years ago, Rio, one of the things they tried to get into his hand is shaving cream, and he hated it, so, and you've probably experienced with your daughter. Oh, but, yeah, so you may have to have a student, you may have to use a wipe on, a hand wipe instead of a liquid or a foam type, just something to think about.
So, we've spent hours and hours together working on this, talking about things through June. Just there at your calendar, and plan on meeting every Tuesday, Thursday, to take the latest up-to-date information, top of department heads and grade level meetings with teachers. Float it out to the teachers, getting great feedback. Tomorrow, we're gonna push this out to our families and students and community. And, we're prepared to get the feedback from families as well. Everybody wants it to be normal operations, but the new normal won't allow that. So we have to be prepared to educate our students and provide the best that we can. Is it the same? No. Is it gonna be perfect? Nope, but I guarantee you that we're gonna continue to monitor and work on it and get better at it as we go on. And I think that's all, if we can just get people to accept that is it gonna be perfect right now? Absolutely not. Things are changing daily, but we're gonna work with each family. We're gonna gonna evaluate the needs, we're gonna talk with families, we're gonna talk with families about the needs of their specific children, and we will do our best. And so, I was gonna do this later, but, you know, the state has provided significant amounts of money and grant money that you're approving tonight, that we're gonna purchase a lot of the materials that we need. And so, they are assisting us with technology purchases, maintenance purchases, this technology that you're hearing about, taking temperatures, we're looking at that, and a lot of product moving forward. So, you'll probably hear about it in the community, you'll be talking about it, but that's what we need to get out. It's an ongoing, fluid process, and this is what we're faced with right now, and we'll continue to work through this.
Has it been difficult to get any of the cleaning projects, or products?
I'm sorry.
Has it been difficult to get any of the cleaning products that we needed?
So far, no. We switched over to a dispenser system years ago, so we get our jugs of disinfectant and we put them in it comes in a concentrate, and we put them in our dispenser. So that's, a lot of schools just buy it like in gallon jugs or whatever and add to whatever they're doing, but this is kind of off the beaten path, so it's more available. It's top of the line.
The one product we can't get are Lysol wipes. Other than that, we're getting everything. That's pretty much all the cleaning and disinfectants, but the Lysol wipes.
I've had 100 containers of Lysol wipes ordered since March. I've got one container.
If I see them out, give us a call, we're sitting. That's the hardest thing for us to get right now.
It's spray bottles. Spray bottles and dispenser. You can't find them. Nobody has them.
So an all call and Facebook and all the social medias will have this information tomorrow. It'll be on the website after it's approved tonight. This PowerPoint is just a prettier summary of what's in this other document that you have. So, that PowerPoint will be out there tomorrow.
I just have one thing to put out, because it's still bugging me. Why can't every student go a half a day if you're trying to limit the number of students? And the cleaning staff come in and clean in between the next session coming in. That way they could even go 5 days a week. Seems like.
It's tough to clean all the classrooms between and
We don't have the manpower.
and then we don't have the added.
Double transportation costs.
But, and then honestly, if you're a working family, it's gonna be hard enough if we have to limit days, let alone to half days. I don't, there's a lot of that discussion we will have.
It takes an hour and a half to do our bus run.
Right.
From, so that you're losing an hour and a half of prime time in the middle of the day. So that's considered too.
It's a logistical nightmare, it is.
And people have done a great job, putting a lot of time and effort. They really have. Even Rick and Rick, that were 10-month employees, they're in here helping out, you know, they are, they've been giving us time. So, we appreciate it, and they've all done a great job. So, you look at all the people who've been in there, and Georgette Selecki, our nurses, Mr. Matt Jock, but everybody here has done a great job. So, our biggest problem, we can't take any vacation because there's nowhere to go, and then we don't have any time either, so. I think so, unless there's any other questions. Any questions? Thanks for the presentation, everybody. I'll read personnel items right now. Number 1, consideration to approve the phased school reopening health and safety plan. Number 2, consideration to approve a request from Sarah Gazonic for a 1-year leave of absence as a professional staff member under Section 13, leaves of absence, and other leave requests of the negotiated agreement with the Education Association. Number 3, consideration to approve bracelet shields to fill a special education teacher vacancy at a step one salary of $40,922 pending receipt of all required paperwork. Number 4, consideration to approve James Haney to fill an elementary teacher vacancy at a step one salary of $40,922. Number 5, consideration to approve William L. Lloyd to fill our 2020-2021 school police officer position at an hourly rate of $25 pending receipt of all required paperwork. That's correct, right? That is correct. Consideration to approve Kristen Lloyd as a long-term substitute English teacher for the 2020-2021 school year. Consideration to approve Ashley Pusey as 2020-21 assistant band director. Consideration to approve Julie Knoll as 2020-21 band front advisor. Are there any questions? No questions, and we'll move right to building and grounds.
Yes, looking for consideration to approve the purchase of a field timer for the cart from Dumans Team Sport of Brookville, Pennsylvania, totaling $6,500 through the CoStar program 032-002. And that would be all for building and grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Metz. Any questions? Okay, discipline and curriculum.
Item number 1, consideration to approve an agreement to participate in the Central Intermediate Unit Number 10 Online Learning Association, CIU 10, in the amount of $7,500 with additional costs incurred through selected electives, effective 7/1/20 through 6/30/21. Number 2, consideration to approve the purchase of a 2-year site license for Reflex Math and Explore Learning totaling $5,337.90. Number 3, consideration to approve a letter of collaborative agreement with the Community Guidance Center of Indiana, PA, for coordinated care, effective 7/1/20, 6/30/21. Number 4, consideration to approve a linkage agreement with Community County Services Incorporated for planning and implementing interventions and treatment. And number 5, consideration to approve revisions to the high school student handbook.
Questions?
What's the Reflex Math?
That's an online program, but, I've made a note here, but that's gonna be a grant purchase as well. But that helped with the blended learning when we were out, so I can't talk specifically about it.
It's like a younger kid version of the Get More Math program that we've been using for 2 years now with a lot of success.
Primarily elementary.
It is, it's K through 3.
And we're gonna be able to use some grant money to pay for that through the Safe Schools grant as well, because you can buy education programs like that. Any other questions? Finance Committee.
Looking for consideration of the following items. Number 1, consideration to approve treasurer's reports dated 5/31/20, the blue copies attached. Number 2, consideration to approve accounts paid totaling $1,013,954.91, pink copies attached. Number 3, consideration to approve a 1-year contract, 7/1/20 through 6/30/21, with Inshore Technologies of Johnstown, PA, in the amount of $40,500 for technology support. Number 4, consideration to approve a 2020 homestead and farmstead exclusion resolution based on the millage rate set forth in the 2020-21 general fund budget. Number 5, consideration to approve an installment resolution number 063020-01 regarding full real estate property taxes for approved homestead or farmstead properties. Number 6, consideration to approve the Blue Cross PPO Blue Dental and Vision rates as presented for the 2020-21 school year based on current plans. Number 7, consideration to approve the renewal of solicitor services for 2020-21 with Finelli Willett Law officers at rates of $135 per hour for general solicitor services and $165 an hour for special legal work. Number 8, consideration to approve the bid and contract with the nutrition group to provide food service management services for the district for the 2020-21 school year. Number 9 is tabled. New number 9, consideration to approve the 2020-21 Greater Altoona Career and Technology Center budget in the amount of $10,682,833. Number 10, consideration to authorize the administration to complete the application process for funding requests through the CARES Act ESSER GSC School Health and Safety Award. Number 11, consideration to approve the purchase of 210 Chrome tablets, 430 Chromebooks, and licenses from CDWG of Chicago, Illinois, in the the amount of $129,265.50 through CoStar's number 003-32 and number 006-064 with safety grant funding. Number 12, consideration to approve payment of normal monthly invoices that require payment prior to the next scheduled board meeting. Number 13, consideration to approve the commitment of remaining funds from the 2019-20 school year towards future healthcare cost increases, retirement increases, and capital costs. Number 14, consideration to accept the bid from Jacobs Oil Company of Dodger, PA for number 2, heating fuel, winter treated, delivered to Glendale School District at the DTN rack price, plus 7 cents per gallon markup on the day of delivery for the 2020-21 school year. Number 15, consideration to accept the bid from to be determined Pennsylvania for off-road diesel fuel, winter treated, delivered to Glendale School District at the DTN rack price plus 25 cents per gallon markup on the day of delivery for the 2020-2021 school year. Number 16, consideration to accept the bid from Jacobs Oil Company of Dodger, PA for on-road diesel fuel, winter treated, delivered to a tank located at 1921 Dorsey Avenue, Arvada, PA at the DTN rack price plus 0.235 cents per gallon mark up on the day of delivery for the 2020-21 school year. Number 17, consideration for the 2020-21 general funds budget in the amount of $13,771,326 to be adopted, and that such budget be funded with the aid of the following local taxes to be determined mills of real estate tax in Cambria County, and to be determined mills of real estate tax in Clearfield County, a $5 per capita tax under Section 679 of the Public School Code 1949 as amended, and the following acts: Lot 11 tax and $5 per capita tax, $10 local services tax, 1.5% earned income tax, and 1% of a transfer tax.
Obviously, we need to discuss how much we're gonna increase, if we are gonna increase. So, what's everybody's feeling? You wanna go around the room? How you feel about it? Theo, you wanna go first?
I would like to keep it the same for people, for jobs, and have financial problems.
I'm kind of feeling the same too. I don't know of any school district locally in the area that did raise their taxes. I think pretty much everyone held the line. You know, maybe have a discussion with Jeff where it's gonna affect us financially, but our additional budget shortfall, reserve funds, and that's the same.
Well, without a doubt, if we hold them the same, we're gonna use more fund balance.
Right.
Now, when you're saying keep the same, you're saying you can keep the same. Really correct, you're saying hold the same dollar amount to reflect the issue.
I say millage, which is already a raise
Right.
itself,
Yeah,
right?
because you can
So
only
we're
keep
not-
one county the same because of the way the county's changing, that's the market price. So, you know, if you do a hold in Cambria County, actual Clearfield County will drop. Which, that's neither here nor there, but that's what I'm saying. If you do a hold in Cambria County and keep it at 68.28 mils, Clearfield County will drop 5.96 mils. We'd actually bring in $34,000 less in real estate than we did this current school year. But that is much. If you do something where you hold taxes at the same dollar amount, in other words, bring in the same amount of tax dollars, that's the fourth option up from the bottom on your back page there. You would raise it in Cambria 1.13 bills, and it would lower it in Clearfield 1.1. So you're talking a whole, it is, because it's changing, you know, the first year, you only hold your index county, but the other county doesn't reach to that point.
I just like input from everybody, how they feel, just, like I said, I don't, you may be able to inform me otherwise. I don't know of any other school districts that raise their taxes, how we've looked, if we did.
I'm not aware of any, most of them have held.
Right.
You know, sitting here with the concerns we have is that budget was passed as a 6-month budget. And we believe that the educational funding will remain the same, but we're dealing with a 6-month stopgap, you know, budget that could change. We're all gonna have a difficult financial time in schools if that changes. But I get it, that, there's a hard hardship on people in our community and our state, and, it would make it easier if we maintained the same funding level of the team, but I understand conversations.
Yeah, I'd like to hold the dollar amount anyway. So
I agree, Rick, I'd be good with the same dollar amount. Or the same. Right.
I'm on page one.
Last year, did people in Clearfield take a beat?
No, we never did get answers from that either.
And this year, Cambria would be the only one that go up, is that right, Jeff?
yes, holding the same dollar amount, Cambria will go up 1.13 mils and Clearfield will actually drop. Tables kind of changed for the last couple of years. Clearfield's been taking the hit, now it's reversing out to Cambria.
Now, in my mind.
Jeff, which one were you,
I'm the same, just those two, hold the same dollar amount.
which one is that for everybody, Jeff? Can you flip over your packet, which,
The one where it's in green,
both
where
same
it
and green, okay.
Green and red.
2,616,246. Fourth one up from the bottom.
Nobody knows what this year will be and what our expenses will be, or if the state will continue to fund like they did, or continue to provide, if there's, so there's so many questions that,
I know, I had an article in the paper in the L2 Mariner, so they were able to do some expense cutting, and they had some teachers retire, like we did, and help them out, and they said initially that it's not gonna affect kids' education by not raising them, so, yeah, you're just taking a shot in the dark, you don't know what's gonna happen. I just don't know how we'd look by raising taxes, nobody else has.
We all agree to hold the dollar amount.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
What about K, and do they have any other, what K?
Ken?
Yeah, go ahead and hold the same dollar amount.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm in agreement. I think we hold the dollar amount and just, it was a little fuzzy hearing that. So what you're saying though, if we hold the dollar amount, it still is a slight increase for Cambria and a slight decrease though for Clearfield County. Is that accurate? Is that what I heard?
Correct, yes, Cambria will increase 1.13 mils, and Clearfield will decrease 4.14 mils.
Okay, but that still holds the same dollar amount. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kay. We're all in agreement on that. Any other questions for finance?
Yeah, number 8, I thought we was cutting ties with that nutrition. No?
My recommendation for this evening will be to table both, that one and the other, motion with respect to nutrition group. The board, passed a motion, I think the last time we were together, which may have been the March meeting, it might have been February, to do a request for proposals, with respect to the cafeteria group. That, documentation proposal just came back, when was it, Jeff?
This is last week,
Okay, last week. So, the school code, because it potentially involves outsourcing, or having, employees transition to nutrition, that's potentially, depending upon what would happen with the contract and board's position. The school code requires a process to be followed in terms of, if the board decides to consider that, consider the proposal, one of the proposals, to actually have a hearing and accept public comment on that. And that, hearing has to be advertised, it has to occur before a regular board meeting. So that was not advertised for this evening. And Jeff, if those, I'm not sure, is 8 linked to 9, because if that's the case, then they'll both need, my recommendation would be to table both of them.
Yes, that's linked to them.
Okay. So stay tuned on that. If there's a special meeting in July, I may make a recommendation to have a hearing before that meeting, otherwise it could be in August. number 16, and Jeff, this is something you can provide input on as well. When the bids, were opened for off-road diesel, 2 came in at the identical.
When Jacob both had the same exact bid.
So CMP Energy and Jacobs Oil, and they were DTN plus 0.25 cents per gallon.
We've used them both in the past. Jacobs bought it last year. Have used them both in the past for not only that, but different. We haven't had an issue with either one of them, but I just didn't want to make that decision. That's a decision you have to make what you want. Jacobs did get the heating fuel, so I don't know if it makes sense to stay with one vendor, or if you want to have someone else get some bids in there. It's totally your call, but it was tied between the two of them.
Jeff went back and looked at the, bid packet, and both of them appear to be conforming, right, to the bid specifications. So the board can either reject both of them and rebid just the off-road diesel if you wanted to, or choose to pick one of those suppliers over the other one. And Jeff's explanation to you, I believe, is that, in terms of whether or not one is more responsive or responsible, you
I haven't
could,
had issues with either one of them.
both have been acceptable in the past.
We had the same issue last year. What's that?
Is Jacob closer, like to have an emergency or something?
There's no Mitchell there going out of Glen Hope, they have a place, and
Okay.
Jacobs is Geyser, so, you know, it was 6 to 1, that says in the other. Last year we had the same issue, I think Martin and, there was someone else tied, and picked one of them.
We rebid it, with substantial savings.
Probably not, because you, maybe
Not a lot of wiggle room.
2 or 3 bidders anyways.
How were these issues resolved?
Protocol.
You just pick one, or is there, have you ever been part of,
Well, I
a
mean,
lottery for something like this? Like one of the,
I'm just gonna say flip a coin.
maybe that was the wrong word,
no,
but
it's not, I'm not participating in that, but, you know, the board's wishes are, I mean, it's the it's the lowest responsive bidder, and, it appears to be an apparent.
I think it was the same price as last year, to be honest with both of them. And the thing is, I mean, if you should choose to rebid, you're going to spend money to advertise again in ways that you're not going to get a better price.
How long has it been since we used to it?
I think we used them in 2018 was the last time we got any.
I was gonna say it was a long
They
period
didn't
of
get
time.
anything last year.
Who submitted their bid first? Whose was received first? Maybe you go by that.
Yeah, I can look at that. I think it might have, I think they both brought them in the same morning of. So, yeah, it was like, one might have got here 10 minutes earlier than the other one.
Brenda asked about who was closer. Isn't Christoph Mitchell not gonna matter, but isn't their main office is Phillipsburg?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Down
it is.
in Phillipsburg.
They just have a satellite there. Okay.
I'm kind of the same with Jacobs, if they had it last year.
We do get our propane, Chris.
Another thing to the pot there.
Absolutely. You recommend Jacobs, Mr. Gates?
Oh, just on the thought that they had it last year, that would be the only criteria.
Fine with Jacobs too, I was thinking the same thing, keep them all in one.
For like maybe billing purposes, does one, do they bill it the same, maybe? I don't know. I'd just go Jacobs and keep it the same.
Yeah, what do you think?
I really don't have strong feeling either way, but I'm fine with Jacobs either way.
Yeah, it's Jacobs.
Jacob.
Okay,
Jacobs.
I'm good with whatever. Whatever you want to do. Jacobs is good. Keep them all the same.
And then I guess the last one, so for 18, as I understand it, when the motion is, read in the regular meeting, Cambria would be 69, Jeff, you correct me, 69 99.41, and Clearfield would be 112.01. Is that right?
Yep, correct.
With an increase of 1.13 for Cambria and an increase of 4.14 for Clearfield.
I'm sorry.
Increase of 1.13.
And Cam, yeah.
And an increase of 4.14.
Any other questions for finance? All right. Dispatcher.
I only have one thing that you guys have had enough to chew on tonight. We just found out today that the elementary is the recipient of a $10,000 grant from the state, and that is to, provide training and any materials we might need for response to intervention training. So that will involve our title teachers, a few special ed teachers, school psychologists, and a speech teacher. So the trainings are all offered virtually, but that will allow us to pay for subs to come in for those who need a sub. So we're really excited about that opportunity, and we're looking forward to learning more about that.
Thank you. Stacy.
Probably my report would be you're sitting in it. You can obviously see that things have changed. I don't know whether, okay. Anyway, we are hoping to order furniture here this week and have, there'll be a soft seating area back in that corner. We're gonna have small group, which I'll see more, small group sections over here, in this area. Some movable tables and multi-group work in this area, and then high tops over here, and hopefully it'll be a much more collaborative space. Hopefully it'll get a lot more use than it did, before. The custodians did a great job of moving all the cabinets and getting them all put in for us, changing the way it looks. Mr. Botfield has worked quite a few hours to pull down books and reorganize. A lot of those books are being weeded and maybe either go to classrooms or go somewhere else. Obviously, not all the books are up yet. They need to go up, but, people really work hard, and I think you're gonna find this to be a pretty sweet move.
Thank you. Mr. Kozak.
Just one thing real quick. So sometime in June, I can't remember the date, sorry, but, there was a group of us that attended a 3-day training, trauma informed care, train the trainer. So, basically what that was, Mrs. Snyder, Mrs. Kozak, Sarah Mays, our social worker, and I all attended a 3-day online training. And basically what it is how to deal with or handle some of those unique situations that we encounter in school with our students that have experienced trauma of any type, whether it be a loss of a parent, grandparent, loss of a sibling, COVID might be the case, and so on. So basically the gist of it is we were trained on techniques, strategies, and things to implement with staff. So that is something that we're going to push out to our staff here in August, and that is going to be mainly led by Sarah Mace, our social worker, due to the fact that she is an expert in this area. But that is something that coincides with our school-wide positive behavior and the initiatives that we're going in that area. That is all.
Thank you. Shoko.
In our summer cleaning mode, and, of course, like Mr. Stacy said, we've been up here, redoing the cabinetry and the painting, and, we've done a tremendous amount of painting this year, which has been a blessing, because we've been trying to get caught up on things, and it just seems like every summer, we just never have time to do areas that we want to do, and, we've been able to get caught up on a lot of that stuff, and, we've been really busy inside both buildings. We've been trying to keep the football field alive. It's been very dry, so we've been irrigating that, pretty much 16 or 18 hours a day. And so, yeah,
to comment about the plan. Once the plan does get rolled out, we know it is broad and out there. The best thing for it is to get out there so we can get recommendations back, especially to the high needs, as Mr. Gates asked questions and stuff. So we've thought of everything, but once our surveys come back in and communication with parents, we will definitely be on top of that, and I assure you that the Hygiene Education work definitely high demand.
Thank you.
Mr. Westover? Nothing more than what we already spoke about with the budget. We get a budget passed tonight, we have to start paying bills again tomorrow, so that's good. Other than that, I don't have anything.
All right, thank you. Technology, Mr. Frank.
Aside from the ton of projects gonna be coming up, I got nothing right now. Really?
See no food service, so we're just having a... Yeah, on top of our re-entry plan for athletics and school, federal programs application have been completed, and then we're in the midst of a couple of grants that the ESSERS funding grant was out there, so we were working on that, and then there was the health and safety award, which we're working on. That opened on June 20th, was due June 30th, so in the midst of all of this, we were taking care of that as well. But just grant updates, the school security grant that we got at the end of last year, that's at $293,000, that'll pay for upgraded doors and locks. Frederick's Lock and Key was here this week, walking around with Charlie, getting the final details together, so that'll be done this summer. You got the school police officer grant, which will be the funding of Mr. Lloyd this evening. We've got the Esther's Care Fund, which we're purchasing Chromebooks and pads tonight for use, so we'll have the technology available. And then the Health and Safety Award, we've got conversations, and we've sent in thermal cameras, software programs, cafeteria tables, there's not all, maintenance supplies, sanitizers, toilet tissue, paper towel, technology upgrades, new cameras for Zoom meetings to be in all the conference rooms, updated laptops for teachers in case you need to have this technology for our staff, our teachers to do remote learning, and we need to upgrade some technology for our office staff as we're working remotely, because that's continuing as well. So all these things are going on, but there's a lot of money that's been made available to us that we're putting to great use for here in the district. Yep. That's all I have.
I'd like to ask, Eric, how do you think that our technology will hold up if we have to go to remote learning?
I think it'll be fine.
You think that?
I think we have enough, like with what we have now, with what we're gonna be getting, I mean, you could have potentially 5 or 6 more kids take their Chromebooks, snap them over their knee, and throw them in cover everybody, so.
Don't put that in the paper.
Not that we want that to happen, but we would definitely have, I mean, during the tech, we could probably have 900 kids do that, and we'd be fine, we'd still be able to cover everybody in 3 days. You can put that.
Okay, well, that's the end of the work session. Adjourn that, move into public comment, sorry.
We got 4 viewers, we got an email, we had their phone calls, so.
No need for executive session between. I don't have anything.
No, maybe if I could just talk to the bargaining committee whenever we end, yeah.
All right, well, let's move right into the monthly meeting. The announcement of executive sessions held 6/30/20 for personnel interview. And I'll be looking for consideration to approve the minutes from the 5/19/2020 work session and regular monthly meeting. Do I have such a motion? Motion by Mrs. Duke, do I have a second? Second by Gary. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
No one opposed? Public comment. Again, last public comment. Anything, Eric?
I apologize, I wasn't here when you discussed this, but I just make the motion.
Go ahead, make the motion.
Not as fast as I once was. Make a motion to approve the athletic department resocialization of sports plan.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Second by Mr. Gates. Questions, comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Personnel Committee, motion to approve items 1 through 8 as read in the work session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Zuber. Questions? No questions, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Building and Grounds,
Yes, motions to approve item 1 as mentioned in the work session.
okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Second by Theo. Questions? All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discipline curriculum,
Motion to approve items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as previously read in the work session.
we have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wallstrom. Questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Finance,
Motion to approve items as previously read. We are tabling the original 8 and 9. I'm gonna read the fuel and budget items separately. Motion to approve the following fuel and gasoline bids for the Glendale School District for the 2020-21 school year, which runs from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Number 2, heating fuel, winter treated and delivered to Glendale School District, awarded to Jacobs Oil Company, Dysart, PA, at the DPN rack price plus 7 cents per gallon markup on the day of delivery. Off-road diesel fuel, winter treated and delivered to Glendale School District, awarded to Jacobs Oil Company, Dysart, PA, at the DPN rack price plus 25 cents per gallon markup on the day of delivery. On-road diesel fuel, winter treated, delivered to a tank located at 1921 Dorsey Avenue, Arvona, PA 16656, awarded to Jacobs Oil Company, Dysart, PA, at the DPN rack price plus .235 cents per gallon markup on the day of delivery. Number 18 will be motion to approve the final 2020-21 general fund budget in the amount of $13,771,326 to be adopted, and that such budget be funded with the aid of the following local taxes: 69.41 mills of real estate tax in Cambria County, and 112.01 mills of real estate tax in Clearfield County, a $5 per capita tax under Section 679 of the Public School Code of 1949, as amended in the following Act 511, taxes, $5 per capita, $10 local services tax, 1% earned income tax, and 1% real estate tax. This represents a $769,326 increase from last year's budget. Jeff, is that still the same?
I was waiting for the
This represents a $769,000.
Yes,
Okay.
based on those figures, yes.
$326 increase from last year's budget. Cambria County millage will increase 1.13 mils, and Clearfield County millage will decrease 4.14 mils from the 2019-20 rate. The millage rates in each county don't change by the same amount because the assessed values are not an equal 50-50 split between each county because of annual changes in assessed and market values and the rebalancing of the tax rates for each county, which PDE calculates.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion, we have a second.
Second?
Second. Questions, comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I believe that is all. So a motion to adjourn.
Quick comment, just want to thank the administration staff for all their hard work. I'm sure you put tons of hours in, and it's something that the normal procedure for back to school. Hopefully it's all not for the last time.
Thank
Anybody have anything else? Your turn? Motion, second by Jeff, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody.